So in this chapter, that is chapter number 4, we will read about approaches and method of presenting concepts. 4.1 Teaching Strategies. Teaching strategy is generalized plan for a lesson which includes structure, desired learner behavior in terms of goals of instruction, and an outline of planned tactics necessary to implement the strategy. The lesson strategy is a part of larger development scheme of the curriculum. This is the sentence which has been spoken by E. Stones and S. Morris. To accomplish the objective of teaching, it is expected that teachers should use different kind of resources available to them in order to transfer the knowledge and present the matter in a very powerful and effective way. 4.1.1 Types of teaching strategy. Teaching strategy can be divided into following types. First is autocratic style. Autocratic style of teaching strategies is traditional. The style strategies are content centered. Teachers remain more active and students are passive listeners. The main emphasis is on presentation. These strategies do not consider the student abilities, interests, and personality of the learner. There is no freedom for the learner in this teaching process. These are highly subjective and conventional style of teaching process, example lecture, tutorials, etc. Second one is permissive style. It is mainly child centered. The pupils largely determine contents. The effective objectives are mainly achieved by permissive style strategies. These strategies create situation for students and teacher interaction and both remain active in teaching. Teaching is organized with the consideration of students' interests, abilities, and values. These strategies encourage the creativity of the pupils, example, project, group discussion, role playing, brainstorming, etc. Broadly, all teaching methods can be divided into three categories. First is telling method, it includes lecture, tutorials, presentation, etc. Second one is showing method, demonstration, project, survey, etc. And third one is doing method, that is practicals, experimentation, role play, etc. Now 4.1.2 Objectives of teaching methods. Some objectives of teaching methods are as follows. Teaching procedures in environmental science should be governed by the objectives of its teaching. The specific goals, purposes, and the nature of the contents of a unit determine the method to be used in teaching. Suitable methods are needed for achieving comprehensive objectives of teaching environmental science. Method gives training in constructive thinking, reasoning, and critical judgment. Goal of teaching of EVS should have deeper and extensive participation of students. Besides the lecture or question answer method, students should be exposed to a variety of learning experiences invoking book learning, observation, interviewing, surveying, interpreting, reviewing, recording, reporting, and evaluating. Learning experiences should be geared to the type of growth and behavior changes desired to be brought in the student in order to make him an enlightened, dynamic, productive, and democratic citizen. Characteristics of good teaching method. There are various characteristics of good teaching method. These are given below. First, group related experiences and activities. A good method particularly designed to produce changes in terms of knowledge, understanding, habits, attitudes, skills, and behavior of the students. Second one is scope for creative expression. A good method should provide scope for the creative expression of the child's individuality. Third one is interests in content. A good method should rouse a large range of interest in the minds of the students. Fourth, shift in emphasis. A good method should shift emphasis from verbalism and memorization to learning. Fifth, training in self study. A good method should train the students in the techniques of self study and the methods of acquiring knowledge through personal effort. Sixth one is stimulation and awakening interest in study. A good method should stimulate the desire for further study and exploration. A good method should awaken interest in the materials and techniques of the environmental science. Types of approach. Now we will read about types of approach. Various approaches are used in teaching learning process. These are given below. First one is conceptual approach. In this approach, things are learned in very detailed form regarding its principle, mechanism, application, etc. After the learning, one will be able to reduce the detailed form into abstract form. Such approach of learning is called conceptual approach. So in this method, the detail is the detailed form is reduced to abstract form. Second one is process approach. In this approach, different skill is used in order to learn new things. The skill to be used will depend on the things which is to be learned. All the skills are helpful as well as useful for better understanding of matter. Third one is integrated approach. Integrated approach includes both conceptual approach and process approach. Integrated approach will lead to better learning in child. Last one is activity approach. In this approach, new things can be learned by the way of activity. It is the best method for learning as this involves all cognitive, affective and psychomotor domain. Other different methods of teaching environment science is lecture method, discussion method, project method, source method and supervised study method. Need of modern methods in environmental science. To make the subject interesting and living, the teacher should use permutations and combination of methods, devices and techniques. Example, to lend color to class teaching, he may use lecture or discussion method or a combination of these two. Different lessons or units should be taught by different methods of teaching. It can be very monotonous to use the same method for every circumstance. To create and maintain the interest and avoid monotony, children should be exposed to varied experiences. No single method can be best for all situations and for all teachers and pupils. The suitable method should emerge out of the abundance of information and skill of the teacher. Now, socialized recitation. Socialized recitation is an ideal classroom procedure aiming at eliminating traditional formal and lifeless classroom atmosphere. The wider participation of the pupils, greater and quicker the learning on the part of the pupils, socialized recitation meets this demand. It promotes better relationship among pupils and between the teachers and pupils. Socialized recitation is a group consciousness and the feeling of individual responsibility towards group. Objectives of socialized recitation. There are various objectives of socialized recitation. These are to develop techniques useful in group work, to stimulate reflective thinking, to supplement previous knowledge, to encourage creative expression and independent thinking, to practice the techniques of cooperative thinking. Now, role of teacher in socialized recitation. The success of socialized recitation depend on the role of the teacher. Socialized recitation succeeds due to the careful planning and judicious guidance of the teacher, who no longer dominates the scene but acts simply as a member of the group. Teacher retained control of the class as a guide, a leader and advisor and a helper rather than a traditional master. Benefits of socialized recitation. Some of the benefits of socialized recitation are given below. First one is proper attitudes, skills and ideals. Socialized recitation develops proper attitudes, skills and ideals. Second one is socialization of the child. Socialized recitation trains pupils for participation in a social environment, which implies freedom in conversation, readiness to mix in friendly groups, and ability to work with others for a common cause. Third one is training in leadership. Socialized recitation method imparts training in initiative and leadership. In socialized recitation, ample opportunities are provided for pupil leadership and pupil planning. Fourth one is spirit of cooperation. Socialized recitation is possible only when pupils cooperate with one another as well as with their teacher. This develops the spirit of cooperation. Fifth one is clear thinking. In a socialized recitation method, pupils are provided with opportunities to discuss, to criticize, and to evaluate problems. Self expression, that is the sixth one. Socialized recitation method provides ample opportunities to pupils to express their thoughts in an atmosphere of freedom and spontaneity. Seventh one is motivation. Socialized recitation provides motivation. The pupils are engaged in a cooperative task with the rest of the group. Each pupil begins to feel his responsibility. Now, disadvantages of socialized recitation. Although there are many benefits of socialized recitation, but it has some disadvantages. These are: first one is inadequate acquisition and mastery. The use of this method is not adequate for the acquisition and mastery of the subject matter. Second one is wandering away from the subject. This method creates the tendency of the class to wander away from the subject. Third one is futile discussion. Socialized recitation may lead to futile discussion. Some students argue for the sake of argument, others argue simply to prove their point, though it has no direct connection with the lesson and the topic in hand. Fourth is domination by few assertive pupils. Here, while few pupils may dominate the entire lesson, such domination is not conducive to the values and that should result from the use of this method. Suggestion to make socialized recitation effective. So, suggestions to make socialized recitation effective are: it should revolve around a topic important from the pupil's point of view and in which pupils express their interest. The teacher should be prepared to handle possible conflicts and recitation and reduce tensions and blocks in good human relations. A friendly atmosphere should prevail during the period of socialized recitation. Each pupil should be made to feel that he has something significant to contribute and that his ideas are valuable. The teacher should have adequate control over the procedure. People should be encouraged to substantiate their own personal opinions with accurate information and thinking about the topic or issue. In this way, we have completed this chapter. We will meet in the next lecture.